There's big news for Microsoft Flight Simulator this week. Night lighting in the sim has finally been fully overhauled. That means no more awful sepia over cities. Instead, lighting is now far more realistic. Meanwhile, Sim Update 16.1 will be fixing some lingering issues for MSFS 2020, while Sim Update 17 has been confirmed and announced for next year. On the PS5 front, the sim ships with the latest updates, as well as with haptics, touchpad and HOTAS for support. There's also many more other things to discuss today, and a load of other announcements as well. Before we get to all of that though, a small request here: if you haven't done so, please do subscribe. Now, I hate to ask, but if I don't, people simply don't sub. So, let's start with that night lighting. On screen right here, you can see how this actually works. There's a fantastic zoom out. The team replaced the old long-distance sepia workaround, which was effectively a single low-resolution monochrome night light texture for the whole planet, and you can see that very early on in this comparison. The way it works now is there's a new very high-resolution baked-in lighting system that streams directly from the cloud. Now, on the recent developer live stream, they showed the example that you can see right here. It's a continuous zoom out from Dubai, and it illustrates that there's no visible break. There's no transition here that's visible. Obviously, there's probably some LOD transitions going on here. It's just that they're not visible at all. So the way this worked previously is that when you were close enough to the street lights and the city lights, they were generated in real time, and then at long distances, that data simply wasn't available on the local machine. So the game transitioned out to a low-resolution sepia texture as a fallback, and I know a lot of people have had issue with this for a very, very long time at this point. So the goal has been to remove that fallback. To be very clear here, this is currently being tested in the Sim Update 4 beta, so this is not available in the live game just yet, but it should be coming very soon. What's changed? Well, all the world night lights are now pre-computed. That means baked in on a 16 terapixel texture. That means an entire texture that wraps around the planet, a 4 million by 4 million pixel texture. The dataset is rather large, and so therefore it's stored on the cloud and streamed into the sim. Effectively, that means that night lighting in cities is now streamed in much the same way as terrain imagery data is as well. So that's why we get in a much improved quality here. The benefits are obvious. It means there's now consistent visuals from cockpit to horizons. No more transitions to sepia, no tinting, no very strange quality as it overlaps from one texture to another. There are a couple of caveats here, however. Airports do have a little bit of an issue because lighting appears, so developers claim, to be a little bit harder to bake in, simply because they look very different from different directions. And obviously that's due to the very nature of how airports work. When you're approaching them at night, they do light up in sort of different colours, just so you know which direction you're approaching them from. So baking in that type of texture is very difficult. Either way, this is a massive improvement. I'm going to play that clip again right here because I really do feel this is a massive improvement to the game. So this again should be arriving once the Sim Update 4 goes to the live game. No idea just yet on when that's going to be, but hopefully, fingers crossed, it's not going to be too much longer. Now, moving on, we come to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. So back when the 2024 edition of the sim was announced, Microsoft said they were going to continue to support the 2020 edition. Some people were skeptical of that, but it turns out it does appear to be the case. Sim Update 16 for the 2020 edition of the sim released this year. They're going to follow up that with a few improvements with a Sim Update 16.1. And that's basically because they've identified 3 major issues that are still remaining after the launch of that update. This is going to be scheduled to release after Sim Update 4 for the 2024 edition, basically so they're not overlapping the development strain too much here, at least in terms of build, release and test teams. They also confirmed that support for Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 is going to extend into 2026. That year, next year, we're going to be getting a Sim Update 17. That's part of the commitment to continue support for the game, and although there's no details yet on exactly what this is going to contain, Microsoft are pretty firm here. They are committing to one big release per year for that particular version of the sim. There's also more good news for Flight Sim 2020 users because Microsoft said they're backporting the 2024 planes to the earlier version of the sim. And that means, yes, you'll be getting the planes that are available in the 2024 edition in the 2020 version. Now, so far, 16 of these planes have already shipped. Total, there's 29 that was shown on the internal grid, but there is a caveat here. Not all of these planes are going to make sense technically. For example, the Air Balloon that's in Flight Sim 2024, this cannot be backported to 2020. The reason being that there's a difference in implementation of physics as well as other aspects between the two different sims. It doesn't stop there though. In addition to the ongoing support for sim updates for Flight Sim 2020 as well as new aircraft coming to the sim, Microsoft have also confirmed that they're going to continue bringing both world updates and city updates to 2020. The reason here is that all of this is shared between both 2020 and 2024. Currently, the plan is 3 or 4 city updates per year, plus 3 world updates per year. And again, we can expect to see that happening in 2026. Now, that's not to say both city updates and world updates in both versions of the sim will be identical. They should be pretty similar, almost the same, but Microsoft have said that they will detail any differences as and when they announce each update. So many of you may be curious why Microsoft is still supporting Flight Sim 2020 so much. Maybe everyone didn't transition over to 2024. Very curious myself, although Microsoft did mention that they've had 500,000 new users try out 2024 over the past few months. So it seems reasonable to assume that things are going fairly well for them. Next up, we got the PlayStation 5 release of Flight Sim 2024. Now, I know a lot of people are actually looking forward to this. The stream did go into quite a bit of detail about all of that. Most notable highlights are the fact there will be no crossplay between Xbox and the PlayStation 5 version, and that's simply because the PS5 version doesn't have any Xbox authentication. Also, purchases from the PC and Xbox marketplace won't be carrying over to the PS5. So if you've ever played on the Xbox or PC and you've purchased things, those won't be compatible with the PlayStation 5 version. To all intents and purposes, these are completely separate products. In terms of peripherals, they confirmed that HOTAS is going to be supported. That will be the Thrustmaster T-Flight HOTAS 4. They're also going to be taking advantage of specific PlayStation 5 features such as haptics and the touchpad, although there wasn't many details on exactly how those are going to function. This is something that I'm really looking forward to seeing. Also, there is different versions of the sim. We spoke about that in the previous update, so I'm not going to go into too much details about that, other than to say that the PlayStation 5 version is going to be shipping with all the sim update for improvements, such as the night lights that we spoke about earlier. Okay, and finally we come to career mode changes. Now what's going on here is that they have plans to unlock heavy and super heavy cargoes with Sim Update 4. So that means you can expect to see entirely new missions in the career mode. Well, that's obvious, using the cargo planes, some heavy cargo as well, and that's going to be pretty interesting to see. Currently, the aircraft for this needed are in the review and testing phases, and they said that they appear to be in good shape, so hopefully we'll be seeing this sooner rather than later. In terms of specifics, heavy cargo missions would be regional and mid-range to long-range, so that means perhaps intercontinental, and super heavy cargo would use the larger planes, and they would carry space equipment from big airports to spaceports. Very curious about that one. There's one other thing I should touch on very quickly here. That is the Reno air races. We've had them before in Flight Simulator. These are changing venue, and they're going to be in Roswell next year. The team have said that they've captured some of the first flights and they're on course for the layout here to release everything next year. There's also another race system going in. This is the Red Bull Air Racing, and the intention for this, they said intention, so possibly, most likely, is to launch alongside the Sim Update 4. So that means we can expect to see a load of new races in the sim as well. Additionally, bush trips. Everyone remember those from Flight Sim 2020. These are still in development for 2024 and are looking currently to be releasing next year. So there we have it. That's most of the big headline news for Flight Sim 2024 and 2020 as it stands right now. Thanks for watching this video all the way through. There is another one on the screen right here. Do take care, and I'll catch you next time.